Okay. So first thing I would notice right off the bat is kind of your use of amp speed here. You don't need to amp speed at all when you're leaving the spawn on this map, because the payload that you're going to be pushing is so close. And instead you may need to amp heals if there was like a Junkrat or something like that that hurt your team. And so what I'm going to be watching for further, here it's neither here nor there, not a big deal. But what I'm going to be watching for further as we go through this is if you continue to use amp speed randomly, like this right here. Like, your diva was literally pushing the payload already, so like it doesn't help anyone get in position or anything. In fact, if you have a crappy Rhine, it'll probably just make them feed their shield even more.
Tracer behind.
Okay. One thing to remember too is as a Lucio, it's probably not going to be your job to heal the Moira. Or to heal the Pharah. Probably not your job to heal the Moira either, but mostly the Pharah. And now we've kind of left our team and taken this kind of flank route, which can be really cool if we're a good Lucio, confident in our mechanical ability, and there's like a Widow that's farming our team. Because as Lucio, we can pretty easily get that Widow kill, but as Lucio here, there's no kill to farm, and in fact, we kind of just motivate our Ryan to do something stupid, and so we get no value up top, our team doesn't get any speed or heals, and so really that was just a waste of positioning that led to just a waste of time.
Tracer behind. She's bullying me.
Okay, you're good. You don't need to keep chasing the Tracer. Okay, so let's think about this fight here. Our Ryan is getting ready to push on them, and we turn around and chase a Tracer with our Moira, who, as long as they throw themselves a healing orb, should be okay. But now in the meantime, our Ryan is now up here unsupported. And now think about our positioning. Moira, Diva, and us are all really close to each other when there's a tire coming. We heard the fire in the hole. We could hear it wasn't that far back either. And now there's a tire coming that could go right in the middle and get a nice 3k. And then meanwhile, our Ryan will just die in the back because he doesn't have the Lucio to support him. One of the best things to do as Lucio, if you're not really sure what your team is doing, if you're not really sure on communication, etc., is just to stay with your main tank, because they would love you if you can just speed your Ryan onto that Orisa, and if you can just heal them when they're low, and then other people will realize, hey, the heals are here, the shield is here, sure, I'll play here too. And now you, even if it's accidentally, which it could happen in gold, you accidentally have an awesome team comp that's working together all around your main shield, main tank. This is a nice beat, saved your Ryan's life. Can't be upset about that. You could aim for the head on this Orisa too. You probably would have killed her sooner. I don't disagree with what you were doing because your whole team was around you. You guys were all just kind of farming. Run away. As soon as you hear fire in the hole, you gotta separate from your team. As soon as you hear like the F and fire, I'm already starting to run away from my team. No biggie. Not a big threat. You have heals. You're going to be by your team. You don't really need to stress about the Tracer all that much. Okay. I would definitely encourage you to make sure you're staying by your team and not playing Lucio like as like a tank or as like a flanker, because while there is different styles of Lucio, you're kind of all over the place. Sometimes you're the most forward person on your team, so you're playing like a tank and you're taking all the damage. Sometimes you're far back chasing a Tracer with your Moira, And so, like, if I'm your Ryan right now, or even your Diva or whoever, to me, it's like I don't exactly know where my Lucio is going to be. So that makes it really difficult for me to play off our synergy and play with our Lucio. Where if you're at least playing a consistent way, even if it's the wrong way, or not the perfect way for that situation, your team will kind of know where you are. They can kind of keep tabs on you. Your Moira can kind of have a guess where you'll be so she can heal you. Your Ryan will know if he can get speed right then. Don't need to beat like that. If you want to beat aggressively, you can let your team push in and then beat once they start to get low. But right here, everyone is full health except for your Pharah, who's dead. And so we don't need to beat like this, even aggressively. We can let our team push in. And you're in voice comms, like you're talking, so you can just say, push and I'll beat aggressively. And then once your Ryan gets to like half health, then we go ahead and drop that big beat. And what'll happen is during your beat, your Ryan will get back to full health, so then he can keep fighting even once your beat is over. Yeah, so far if we're looking at this, we gotta stay with our team, play off those synergies a little bit more, and then maybe think about some of our ability usage, including our ult, and we'll start doing much better.
She's in the back, she's in the back.
Like, your main tanks are alone on point right now. You've left them, both of your tanks. I don't know why I called them both main tanks. Both of your tanks, you've left them on the point, and they may not know that you've left, and like there's a Reaper now, so they may be expecting to need to like speed out away from that Reaper, and meanwhile you're gone just looking for a Widow. Or like this, like what makes you think you're not gonna die there, being the most forward person on your team? And whoever said point is right, you guys aren't even pushing point. So even if somehow you won that fight, say you soloed that Orisa and killed her, what does it matter?
Take care of them if we just kill the Mercy.
You guys have 2 healers. I don't know what he's talking about. But gotta decide on a way to play, and gotta play that way. And that way should be less reddity most of the time, and more so staying with our tanks. And then I will always praise it. Every video on the planet, I will praise it on any player below like Masters. You have to hit tab more. You didn't even know they had a Bastion and a Reaper until that Bastion and the Reaper were pretty much shooting at you. And so that is so scary, where if you just hit tab more, you would know that they have a Bastion, or you would know that they have a Reaper, or you would know that they have a Widow, or whoever, which will change the way you play. Meanwhile, like while I'm giving that conversation, like you were kind of going off to fight a Reaper alone, who eventually your Moira ended up dying to, because supports are not the ones who kill Reaper. And now this whole time, look at this. You guys aren't winning this fight, first off, but you guys are alive. So here's what's happening. You guys aren't pushing the payload and you're staggering. The nicest part about defense is... Oh god. The nicest part about defense is, even if there wasn't a junk trap, you should have died there. There was a Reaper so close to you. But the nicest part about defense is, if the enemy isn't pushing the point, it doesn't matter if you're winning or losing. You guys haven't pushed the point barely any distance in about a minute. Even though in that time you guys have won fights, and you guys have had very real fights, but yet because you haven't pushed the point, it doesn't matter. You saw Reaper teleporting on you. As Lucio, you should move away generally. Very good Lucios will be able to boop them away, keep themselves from dying, but you're not going to probably be able to kill the Reaper. So really you're just wasting where you should be. Like even there, the Reaper was low and you needed help to kill him. It's just not your job as Lucio to solo the Reaper.
Oh, the fucking dash.
Good, I'm glad you ran away there. You're down 3 right now. So you can kind of sit, wait to touch, make sure you save your sound barrier. But while you're kind of waiting for your teammates to respawn, there's no reason for you to be staggering and or dying to that Bastion ult. I genuinely think that you guys as a team would have done better if just you had stayed around your Rhine and then pushed with him. And you could have, you're in voice too, like you can tell your team, like, Moira, please stop fighting the Reaper, like that's just not a fight that you're generally going to win, whatever you want to say. And you can get Moira to kind of come with you guys and reposition and whatever you need, but it at least kind of moves that fight away from you guys burned so much time not pushing the payload and just sitting around the back because there was a Reaper. That's a good call. I like that you're kind of looking at what was the main problems or what you believe were the main problems, so that you can really work to counter them this round. And as long as you're careful not to say it like toxically at all, like that can be really good. You do want to avoid saying stuff like Pharah, you suck, because that just makes your Pharah not want to try then. Instead, you say stuff like, Pharah, it looks like they're working really hard to counter you, you know, because maybe that works better and that's a substantially nicer way to try and get them to switch.
I mean, if someone coming behind, I think it's Junkrat.
Okay, when you're that close, let's not scope in. Scoping is just inherently slower, and then it also leaves a trail that shows your... Nice sleep. That it shows your enemies where you are. Okay, don't forget about that sleep that you did there, because you know you could have actually killed this Junkrat. It's pretty simple to shot, nade, shot, melee, and they'll die so fast. And or another great method is you have a Widow who can one-shot him. You have a Zen who can charge and one-shot him. You even have a Bastion who could reposition and one-shot him. You have a... Do you have a Rhine? I think you have a Rhine. A Rhine who can... Yeah, you do have a Rhine. A Rhine who can pin him. A Rhine who could throw a Fire Strike at the same time you nade it even if he doesn't want to leave the high ground. But you kind of... It seems like forgot that you slept him and didn't make that call out to your team at all, so they don't even know that you slept him. And so now if this Junkrat does any damage, it's 100% your fault. Because you slept him, you had handled the problem, but you had to follow up on it and kill him. Oh no, the Junkrat ended up killing you. That's bad, but I have to break it to you. That's kind of your fault. You had dealt with the problem. You had slept him. All you had to do was tell your team that you had slept him or go kill him yourself. Nice.
Reaper behind us on the high ground. He's on the balcony. Reaper. He's one.
So think about that cooldown you just
Reaper's
used
up
there. Your
behind.
anti-nade is like your most powerful ability usually is Ana, but you threw your anti-nade kind of randomly at a Reaper that you weren't even sure if you were going to hit. And even if it did hit him, it didn't really affect him. So definitely, we had kind of the same problem on when we were using our amps as our Lucio and stuff
Taking a
like
quick
that.
power nap and you
Gotta think about when you're using your abilities, because your abilities are so strong and so important. And so if we're using them to just kind of randomly throw them at a Reaper, like, we made a mistake that we can't even blame on anyone else. Nice. I'm glad that you knew exactly where he was coming from, and so you slept him right there. That was very nice.
There's a Reaper behind us. He's on top of the high ground. Get him, Widow, get him. What the fuck?
Do your best not to get in a sniping war with a Widow. Anas do it all the time because they are technically snipers as well. But one great question to ask yourself is, can I one-shot, and can I be one-shot? That's the way I do it. So if I'm playing like Zen and there's a Hanzo shooting at me, I say, can I one-shot? No, not really. Can I be one-shot? Oh, yes, definitely. So then I don't take that duel. But if I'm playing Hanzo and there's a Hanzo shooting at me, and I say, can I one-shot? Yes. Can I be one-shot? Yes. Then maybe I'll take the duel if I think I'm better, or if I think I have good cover or something like that. But if I cannot one-shot, and I can be one-shot, I don't take the duel.
We have advantage here.
And that's like your case with the Widow. Can you one-shot Widow? Nope. Can Widow one-shot you? Yep. And then that lets you think about what's going on too. Maybe if that Widow is within one shot of death, like one of your team called that she's won, then maybe it is a really good call for you to go ahead and one-shot her. Only thing I'd say there, if you want to avoid that issue, just call out that you're sleeping the Reaper, and then your Zen can like charge a shot or something like that, and can kill him before Reaper even gets a chance to Wraith. But because we're not calling it out, our teammates can and will wake up the people we're sleeping, because they don't even know that we're sleeping them. I'm glad to see you kind of hitting tab and looking at your comp, the enemy comp now, because one of the things to start thinking about is what alts are they going to have. They just killed almost your entire team with Reaper's ult. Then they killed you with Bastion's ult, so you know they probably don't quite have either of those yet. They might be getting kind of close to Reaper. But there you go, there's an example. Like, were we thinking, oh, we're probably going to get nanoed? Because then that lets us save like our sleep to nano whoever's going to sleep. Or if we know that Reaper has his ult, we like save our sleep until Reaper's ulting. Nope. You know they have a Widow and you're standing out in the open. That's a big mistake. Big mistake. Because the better the Widow gets, the more you climb, the more that Widow is just going to kill you as soon as you move out into the open. There's no advantage to being out in the open on Ana versus Widow, and so don't do it. What were you trying to sleep there? Okay. I maybe would have thought about, do I need to use my nano here? Because look at the kill feed, okay? They're down 1. They're down 2.
No, don't worry.
They're down 3. They rezzed 1, but they got another kill, so they're still down 3. And then we used our nano. So after our nano, it's already 5 versus 2, I believe, right now, if I counted correctly. So we kind of wasted that nano, because if your team doesn't win a 5 versus 2, then there's other problems anyway most of the time, and just most of the time you're going to win a 5 versus 2, so it's just unnecessary. And so I would want to see you being a little more careful to make sure that you're holding on to your nano and not just using it kind of recklessly, because we could have saved it for the next fight. There's only a minute 20 left, so tops that's like 3 fights, and so we could win the next fight with it, and then maybe there's only one more fight or something like that, and that can make it really clean. Where instead we're using our nano when we only need 2 more kills, and it's 5-2. So there's one of the kills. Your nano had almost nothing to do with it, and then the other kill got away. So really, we totally wasted the nano.
Let's heal up. Let's set up a shield or something.
60 seconds.
There's someone coming left. They're all coming left on the high ground.
That's not a bad choice because you can't do any sort of one-shot combo on the Reaper. It would have been good to call that he was over there, definitely, but I don't blame you for running away. We're just kind of forgetting that there's a Reaper right behind us. You kind of just walked past him to help the Diva with the Junkrat, but most of the time, if they're close to you, Reaper's going to be a bigger threat. And he could have easily just like farmed us in the back.
That didn't work. Sorry, I thought I made it past.
Gotta spread out. You can call for your team to spread out and stuff too, but there was a tire coming at you guys and you were running towards your team. Unless you guys are in a grab or something like that, there's no real reason tires should get that many kills, because you guys should spread out. You gotta run away. You gotta run away. Please don't go down there. Think about this right now. Think about what is going on here. Six enemies, right? So Junkrat we know went down there. We just heard someone up here. Payload is here, and we can see that it's being pushed. So we're pretty safe to assume that the rest of our enemies are here, especially because we can see that Orisa shield right here. And we could see the purple Ana shots going down this way. So we know at a minimum there's 2 people here, maybe more. We can still tell, plus we just know based off of when that tire just killed everyone, their team is still somewhere in this zone here. They're still respawning, so they're still coming back. They're going to get to us, and they're probably going to have time to contest this, but they're not quite here yet. But meanwhile, here's where you're going. You come off the high ground here, which makes sense because you heard someone over here, but you come off the high ground here, and you go right down here. Even if you kill the junk, you're going to get farmed in the back by all of these enemies easily. And so now your team is going to be down their main healer while they're trying to do a last second contest. If you wanted to run away, one good way is to kind of hug this wall here because it makes it a little bit harder to be seen. And you can kind of circle back, or if your team gets in a fight, you can drop down. You can even like take this high ground here, which is kind of suicidal, but at least you have options. But going down here, or even jumping off here, is pure suicide. This is going to get you killed so fast, and your team is not going to have a healer for their main healer for their last fight. Definitely got to think about where our enemies are, because if we're thinking, we know they're in this zone here. And so if we would think about that, we wouldn't have probably made this crazy choice. So nice, we killed the Junkrat, but look at all the shots being shot at our back. We're antied. We're lucky we even got to use our nano. And we're lucky that apparently the Junkrat just doesn't remember that we lived. Okay. I don't know what to say besides that was crazy. And should have gotten you killed 100 times over.
Yo, I have like half an HP.
Get Ryan. Get Ryan, please.
Did we need to use our nade there? Or, you know, could we have saved it for something more important? Like, there's no enemies directly in front of us, so we could have just sat and healed. One thing that's really good to remember, and what I tell a lot of Anas, is we don't need to use our nades to supplement our healing or supplement our aim most of the time. It's very rare that you need to. I can't believe that you lived that long, because you should have died so long ago when you went down into that corridor. Okay, probably didn't need to waste our recall there yet, but we're not even going to talk about Tracer, because this is just a last second stall hero. You're not genuinely playing Tracer.
We win.
Hell yeah, brothers.
Glad to see you guys won that. Definitely some mistakes in there. Definitely my top 1, 2, 3 is 1. There's going to be some stuff that you got to work on with ability usage. We're using those nades off of cooldown. We're using those, or we need to be, ignore what I said. I don't know why I said that. I apologize. We need to be using those nades not to supplement our healing, but instead to hurt our enemies. We need to be using our speed boost and our heals at the right time. We need to make sure that when we sleep an enemy, we actually follow up on it, because they do wake up shortly after and sometimes even kill us like that junk. Number 2 is going to be our positioning. And then number 3 is going to be our general awareness and communication. So number 2 for positioning, would love to see you positioned in some safer spots. I think I just pretty thoroughly went over like an example of where your positioning was scary. Or like the fact that you were positioned in the open versus a widow who would like have the high ground on you, and you would just like walk through here. Like this should be a no-go zone for you, because widow can so easily hit that shot on you, and then you big staggered for nothing. And then number 3, just communication. You're in voice chat. You don't have to talk, but there is some great things that you can say. At the minimum, you have to listen, but there is some great things that you could add to this. Some stuff like, I slept this person. Some stuff like, we need to spread out. Some stuff like staying with your main tank, whatever. And you can definitely add to that. But 1 and 2 are the number 1 things that you need to fix. Abilities, using them for a purpose, saving them for when you need them, and 2, positioning. And then, get another VOD review, and that's when you start maybe worrying more about alts and comboing and stuff like that. But at this point, fixing those 2 things will help you climb the most.